Hi there, Melissa Nielsen. Today's topic is transitioning to having a Waldorf home. So often when families come to Waldorf homeschooling, or even just Waldorf in general, if you're not homeschooling, it's this idea that it's so beautiful, right? It's so pretty. I call it the fluff. The fluff of Waldorf is beautiful. Like what you see behind me, that's some Waldorf fluff. Some beautiful wooden toys, a beautiful play silk, hand-done paintings, things that are fluff and make you feel good inside, right? And there is this sort of tendency to just want to replace everything in your home with beautiful fluff. And I want to just caution you that that could go great. You will go into some debt probably, but you really don't want to go like whole hog like that. I really suggest instead just replacing bit by bit. So if you've got birthdays coming up, hopefully you're in a spot where grandparents say, what does so-and-so want for their birthday? So that's an opportunity for you to get online with, maybe a website like Nova Natural or Magic Cabin or one of those places that has some beautiful wooden toys, the Wooden Wagon, places that have beautiful wooden toys or beautiful books. It's your opportunity to get online with your child and look at what's there and have fun with what's there, and then make a list for grandma. Make a list for, auntie that wants to spend some money on a birthday gift. It also is an opportunity for you to, make Christmas lists, things like that. So I would not dive right in and replace everything. Because often, too, it's kind of like if you've ever gone from being a meat eater to being a vegetarian, there is this propensity to just buy a bunch of meatless patties to fulfill that desire to want the meat. When truly, in order to change the habit completely, you really need to get away from anything that looks like meat and feels like meat. I'm not advocating vegetarianism over anything else. I'm just using that as an example. I am not a vegetarian. I used to be one, but I want you to look at your replacement of toys in the same way. Hopefully, you're not wanting to replace toy for toy. Part of Waldorf is really some minimalism. It's a step away from materialism. It's not, which is kind of crazy because you look at the fluff and you go, oh, but I want it all. That's materialism, right? So you want to pick things that, things here and there that you get. Now, if you look at our stash, which is dwindling now that we have the youngest child is 9 and we're starting to get rid of things. But we've been at this for more than, almost 20 years. So I have toys that I made, like the math gnomes that I made for my oldest son, and he's 23. We still use them. There are toys that I've made and toys that I purchased 15 years ago that we still have. So these toys will be around for a long time because they're very timeless. And you don't want to replace just toy for toy. So if you say your child loves Matchbox cars and you're just trying to replace it with wooden cars, that's a great thing to do. But if you've got 200 Matchbox cars, you're not going to replace it with 200 wooden cars. You want to look at quality over quantity. And often parents get kind of scared about that because, my gosh, but he's been playing with 200 Matchbox cars since he was 3, and how's he going to be okay with just 5? Try 5 and see what happens. Don't rush out to do piece for piece, because that really sets you up for this sort of materialistic place of buying, and then you're going to find yourself upset at yourself, and you might find your partner upset at you, and you always at every turn have to ask yourself, is this for me, is this for them? Because of course we'd love to have the beautiful toys. The things that are here in my office, those are mine. There's no illusion that they belong to the children. And there was no illusion when I purchased them that they were going to be for the children. But they have purpose for me. So the ones at the top, I don't know if you can see them very well, they're the Bremerton musician animals. That's one of my favorite fairy tales. I have a painting of that a good dear friend did for me. I have a storybook that's mine that is something, because it's a dear story to me. So, also then the little guys here on the bottom, they're my gnomes, and I love gnomes. So when I purchase things like that are for me, I'm under no illusion that they're for the children, that I know that they're for me. So when you're purchasing things like that, ask yourself, who's this for? Years ago, I had, and I love Ostheimer toys, the wooden toys that these are from their line. I had a Noah and his wife. And I loved them, but they were not ones that, again, were for the children. They were kind of like decorative pieces that we had on the nature table that we had out when we were doing those stories. I have ones that are just for our, our festivals. And then, of course, I have ones that they played with. Of course, there was that as well. But again, I had to always ask myself, who's this for? So if you find yourself like really wanting them, but your kids are kind of like, you want to ask yourself, who is this for? One thing that was really helpful to me that we did in the early years with my boys, they loved trains. So we had all the old school Thomas the Tank Engine trains, the wooden ones. And I don't know if they're still all wooden, the train cars themselves, but we had all the old wooden trains. That was easy because then I could say to grandparents, this is what they still don't have. And we had so many trains. Oh my gosh, so many trains. But then, I also get the questions like, what about Lego? We had lots of Lego too. A lot of Lego. We tried to keep with open-ended Lego. So if they had a set that they wanted, a specific set so that they could build it and keep it in a specific way, like maybe a Star Wars set or something like that, then yes, they had that. But the mainstay of their Legos were open-ended Legos. They weren't Legos that had instructions with them. They were open-ended so that they could play. And I was okay with that. I know there are definitely some more that would consider themselves more Waldorf purists that don't like Lego, but I'm okay with Lego. I think that it really lights up some kids, boys and girls, to bring them to a space of building some things. And it can become obsessive. And so I would be very careful about that. I would be careful about only bringing them out at certain times. I would also be careful about, my rule has always been no Lego before school, because it's really easy for them to get sucked into it and then not want to do school. So those are just my thoughts as far as like bringing Waldorf to the space of bringing it home. When it comes to supplies, it's again the same as with toys. You're going to want to replace, but I wouldn't go, unless you have the budget for it, I wouldn't go piece for piece. The first things I would replace would be, I would replace maybe Crayola crayons with some Stockmar stick crayons. And then you'll want to get some block crayons, but I would only buy the 3 primary color block crayons. You can find those at meadowsweetnaturals.com. She's got just the 3 primary colors. You'll want those so that you can learn the block crayon style of drawing, and that's for the early grades. Those are not for writing. The stick crayons are for writing. You'll want to replace, any colored pencils eventually with some nice Stockmar or Lyra colored pencils, and the same with the paint. But it's not something you have to do all at once. Transition yourself. Pick one thing that you're going to learn. Maybe you really want to learn wet on wet watercolor, so buy the supplies for that. Or maybe you really want to learn how to model. Buy modeling beeswax and buy the supplies for that, and then dive into that. And once you get good at that, then you can bring some more in. I always sort of, in my years of homeschooling, rather than try to spend a lot of money, say at tax time, I would rather be able to spend money throughout the year. So I was constantly putting aside $10 a week or $20 a week. So then it doesn't take long before that's $50 or $100, right? So then you can buy that book or buy those supplies that you want. So hopefully that's helpful to you. I think transitioning to a Waldorf home can feel very daunting at first. So I want you to take your time. I want you to breathe deep. Like I said, at every turn, ask yourself, who's this for, me or them? And replace the supplies. As you replace the supplies with more expensive supplies, realize that they will last a long time. I have colored pencils that are 15 years old. So they've been around for a long, long time. The same with crayons. They will last and last and last. You just have to teach your children that they're different than maybe their cheaper counterparts. So I hope you have a wonderful week. If you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a DM or a PM, and we will see you later.